Never a doubt. What is going on, guys? Eagles get the W. Move on 22-10 over the Green Bay Packers. Vic Fangio and this Eagles defense nearly puts on a masterclass. Meanwhile, Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts need to figure some shit out. Joining us, he is Shane Happ at Shane Happ NFL on X. What's up, Shane?
There was maybe a little bit of a doubt, just a little bit, that creeped in a time or two. But man, you get the win and you move on. And I said all week that I thought the Packers were the worst possible first round matchup for the Eagles in the NFC, with maybe the exception of the Lions, maybe. But so to get out of the game with a win, I'm happy. Concerned about some things, notably the linebacker position now, but I'm happy.
Absolutely. Also joining us, an amazing follow on X. If you love the Philadelphia Eagles, he is David at PHL Eagle News. What's going on, David?
What's going on, man? Yeah, I agree with y'all. You take the win, you flush it. The NFL is a week-to-week league. You move on. This was a hard matchup from the beginning, but they still won. So enjoy it, move on. But it probably is one of the more frustrating 12-point wins you'll ever experience in your life.
Yeah, there's a lot of frustration. I don't know how this show is going to go. You never know with these post-game shows. But as always, if you're watching us live, please be sure to comment. Please go follow Eagles Pinpool on X, wherever you get your podcast, Facebook, YouTube. This is going to be an interesting show for sure. As some comments chime in, ugly, but I'll take it. Survive and advance. Man, the law of attrition. The Packers went through it. I can't even imagine being a Packers fan watching that one as guys went down left and right. As always, we start with the offense. Let's start with Jalen Hurts, 13 of 21.
Can I ask a question real quick first?
Absolutely.
That I just thought of? I don't know the answer. Did Bryce Huff play today at all?
I did not see it.
I never noticed him. He did?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw him out there.
Okay.
I saw Jalix Hunt out there. I didn't see.
Yeah, I saw Jalix as well. Yeah, I don't know that he got on the field more, but yeah, he was. I saw him standing there. I think he did get in.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead, Dibes. I just thought of that. I was like, I don't know. I don't recall seeing him at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet money on it, but I did. I thought I saw him, but I wouldn't bet money on it.
Anthony chimes in. The Green Bay defense is top 5. This is probably the best defense the Eagles face all playoffs, right? As I would.
The only defense they've faced that's better on the season is the Ravens. And the Lions, no, I'll have to look up the numbers again. But yeah, I'll get back to you on that.
Okay. All right. So let's get into Jalen Hurts here. 13 of 21, 131 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have 36 yards on the ground, but I'll be honest, the rust on Jalen Hurts ended up being way more real than I wanted to believe. They have a lot to figure out, but at the end of the day, he was 7 of 8 in the second half with a touchdown, where the Eagles have been money in the second half all season long. It was a bad Jalen Hurts game. I'm not saying otherwise, but man, Kellen Moore really left a lot to be desired in this one. The play calling from start to finish was bogus. They did pull it out at the end. That one drive late in the third quarter where they took up nearly 8 minutes and just got a field goal, but it made it a 2-score game. That was so big. But this passing offense, this play calling is bad right now. It's straight bad. I'll throw it to you, Shane. Quick take on Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I have those numbers for you. So the Packers are 7th in defensive DVOA. The Baltimore Ravens are 6th, who the Eagles beat in the regular season. But playoff potential opponents, the Lions are 5th and the Vikings are 2nd. So there are some good defenses in the NFC, but the Packers are definitely a very good defense. And, it's strange. Like, you would say the Russ thing, but he started 6 of 6 passing. And then it kind of fell apart from there, which I thought was a little strange. But the offensive game plan in this game was an abomination. This was... I mean, I'll watch the All-22 and maybe I'll walk this back on my show with Johnny later this week. But I think the game plan in this game was every bit as bad as the game plan in the Bucs playoff game last year. It was horrific. And I've been a pretty big Kellen Moore guy. throughout his career in Dallas and last season, and was really excited when the Eagles got him, and in defending a lot of things throughout the season from him. He was awful today. The situational play calling was bad. The overall game plan was atrocious, and just how conservative the Eagles got at some points was just baffling to me. I mean, you see the Packers on a 3rd and 13 throw a deep ball and they get a DPI and it moves the chains and they end up kicking a field goal. The Eagles had they had like a 3rd and 5 screen pass that they then punted on 4th and 5 from the 47, and it became a touchback. So it was a 25-yard pass. They had a run on 3rd and 12. They had a run on 3rd and 13. They had a run on 3rd and 19. They called another screen pass on a 3rd and 10 against a cover 0 look. It was a horrific job by Kellen Moore today. He gets an F. Kellen Moore gets an F. And I didn't think Hurts was great at times, but on some of the ones that we got the back replays for, I don't know where the heck he was supposed to go with the football.
Yeah, with the Eagles having a clear advantage with Devontae and AJ feasting against them in week 1, having 3 targets combined in the first half, really took until the 3rd quarter to get Devontae involved. AJ Brown's reading novels on the sideline. Maybe we'll get into that. David, what was your take on Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Shane. I don't think he started off rusty. Like he said, he came out 6 of 6, but they were quick sideline throws. They were mixing in Saquon runs, and then they just completely abandoned it. And they started going back to the same old vertical routes. And like you just mentioned, AJ and Smitty had 3 targets in the first half. They only ended the game with 10 combined targets. I mean, it was just a terrible game plan. I mean, Kellen Moore had the 2 head coach interviews, I guess, with New Orleans and Jacksonville. And I don't know, maybe it is a distraction. Maybe coaches shouldn't be able to do that when teams are in the postseason. Maybe there was a reason that they used to try to not allow that. But to me, the play calling was the biggest issue. And that's not to say Hurts had a great day. He didn't. But I think he was put into positions that were going to be very hard for him to succeed in.
I'm trying my best to take the emotion out of it because it's the playoffs. My voice is almost gone. But they just beat this number 14 by DVOA by double digits, and I'm upset. I'm upset. Am I crazy, Shane?
I mean, it was a frustrating game. And you could feel, we talked about it at halftime, like everything had gone the Eagles' way. The Eagles forced, what was it, 2 or 3 turnovers in the first half and only had 10 points. And and the Packers offense started to get chunk plays. And then of course they threw another interception. And by the way, don't have to talk about this, but if Jalen Hurts threw 0 touchdowns and 3 interceptions in a playoff game and only put up 10 points, he would be eviscerated in the national media. But nobody will mention that about Jordan Love. They're just going to talk about how bad Jalen Hurts was in his 2 touchdown, no turnover performance. But that aside, it was frustrating. And I think it hurts that the Eagles just came off of a game against Washington that the defense played phenomenal, forced a lot of turnovers, and the offense wasn't capitalizing, and it slipped away. And so I think there was maybe some feelings that could happen again. But it was a frustrating game to watch offensively for sure. And we'll be a lot more positive when we get to the defense. But I mean, we call a spade a spade. The offense was bad today.
I was really surprised at their game plan. Like I expected somewhat of a Pittsburgh Steelers type of game plan on offense, where they deliberately try to get Hurts in rhythm with those quick passes. I'm looking at the numbers right here off my screen. I mean, they ran the ball on first down probably about 90% at least of the plays, and didn't really – I mean, it was hit or miss. They had a couple of runs there for 17, 15, but outside of that, nothing great. David, any other thoughts on Jalen Hurts before we roll on to Saquon and just how elite he is?
No, I think the game plan seemed to be to try to funnel most of the offense through Dallas Goedert, who was phenomenal in this game, but I think he ended up with the most targets. It seems like that was more of their plan. I expected to see AJ getting a lot of passes thrown to him out of the slot, kind of like what they did in week 1, but that didn't never really materialize. But yeah, I just to me this falls more on Kellen Moore than anyone else. But again, it's hard to feel like it's a funeral when they just won a playoff game in the National Football League, which is very hard to do.
Yeah. The comment here, this might be the worst Kellen Moore game all year. It was a pre-bye week offense. It was literally just Saquon and bombs. It's just mind-numbing. I don't get it, Alex. Thanks for the comment. Cameron says, completely agree, Shane. Twitter's being way too hard on Jalen Hurts. I'm way more mad about the Kellen Moore play calling than I am when it comes to Jalen Hurts, for sure. Hurts today, 0 turnovers and a win. Love it, love it, love it. Block all Kellen interviews until further notice.
Hurts ended up with like a 111 rating today, right?
Yeah, 111.4.
Yeah, I mean, those 2 touchdowns and no turnovers, I mean, that's the formula to win. So
that's really it.
That's really what they did. They're not all going to be pretty.
Yeah. Can we throw a slant to AJ, please? Not one slant to AJ all game. I'm not concerned. The playoffs are its own beast. It's a survive and advance league. Every week is different. Cameron saying Hurts was fine. They tried to take away AJ and Saquon. I think on that fake tush push, Jalen had AJ open downfield for a half a second. It was a
best play call of the game, really.
Yeah,
that was a great call.
I love that. Like, I'm not a huge fan of like the tush push on 3rd and 1 because it feels so automatic on 4th and 1 that like I understand you don't want to just get straight drop back passing game trying for an explosive play and take a sack because then that kills your whole drive. But I loved that call. I just sad it didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that comment there, that is exactly what that's what I was writing during this game. This game reminded me exactly of the Falcons game in 2017, where they just barely got away out of that game. It came down to Jalen Mills basically bullying
Julio Jones, wasn't it?
Julio Jones right out of the end zone, and then he comes sprinting up the field with his finger up. I can remember that game. I mean, they were literally a bounced pass off of Torrey Smith's knee or something away from losing that game. So I mean, that's kind of what this one reminded me of.
I have a fun story / memory about that game. If you guys want
to
indulge me for a minute.
I'll go after you.
Okay, so this post-game show is already off the rails, but so we were in the middle of adopting my oldest daughter from Nigeria, and my wife and her were still in the country because we were having a hard time getting the visa, but I had to come home with my son because he got bit by a mosquito and was real allergic and swelling and malaria, all that stuff. So anyways, I had to bring him home, and so I was going to surprise my wife and have the house all decorated for Christmas when she got home. And we were going to do Christmas in like January, but she didn't know it. And so she was wanting me to like, tell her, send her pictures and all this stuff during the day, just live or whatever. So I videoed like Allen's reaction to the Eagles scoring a touchdown in that game and sent it to her. And I didn't realize that you could clearly see the Christmas tree in the background that I had set up. And I totally spoiled it. But that just popped back into my head when you mentioned that game in 2017.
We didn't have tickets to the game, but we did have tickets to the Killers concert, which was at the Wells Fargo Center across the street. So what we did was we tailgated and brought our TVs. We had a whole crew, and it was the coldest day of the year for that Falcons game. I don't know if you remember, but it was like literally 0 degrees. And we just watched the game in the parking lot all game, doing sprints up and down the row there where we parked just to keep warm. It was wild, but the concert was great. The Eagles win was great. Great times. T Grant says, I love the fake push call to AJ. AJ
great
slipped
call.
The fake I didn't see he slipped. I have to rewatch that for sure. Losing Dean. We're going to get into Oren Burks in just a little bit and where they go from there, because that is a talking point for sure. Very obvious. Losing Dean is a killer. The knee injury did not look good. I would imagine he's done.
He said he was done when he was carted off. That was, if you could read lips, that's what he said. I'm done.
That I first I thought it was his abdomen. That was like my first guess because I know he's struggling with that. But man, the tackling issues on defense was.
I mean, to be fair for the "I'm done" comment, he could be knowing he's not coming back in this guy. I'm not hopeful that he's going to be back this season, but I'll try to not be too negative so far, even if it's kind of what I think. I wouldn't read too much into his self-diagnosis on the field.
Yeah. T. Grant says, I love how Dean still made the play. He had 2 tackles for loss in like 3-4 possessions. He was outstanding. We'll get to the defense in a little bit. Burks looked afraid of contact. Carson Wentz vibes. They knew right away. Reports coming out before the game was over. Burks is trash. Let's get to more of the offense for the Birds. Did we touch on Saquon?
No, not yet.
Let's talk Saquon. 26 carries, 119 yards. I thought he was really good today. And I feel like they abandoned the run when it was working. And I feel like he could have had obviously he sat on that final run there. That would have been a house call. But in general, I thought he was solid. I'll throw it to you, David, first. Saquon Barkley, and my God, I mean, I don't even know. I don't even know anymore.
Yeah, well, I'm a little angry with him because he cost me about $75 by not taking that one to the house at the end of the game there because I had him with the 1 touchdown game there. So
oh my God, that sucks.
But again, you talk about how good this Packers defense was, and from the beginning of the game, the O-line was bullying them. They were getting first downs. They were moving. He still ends up with 119 yards. It could have been 175 had he had taken that ball to the house. I mean, he is just a difference maker. And somebody posted it earlier in the comments. This is what the Eagles are. They have the #1 defense in football, and they're leaning on it. And they're not risking throws. You know, people get frustrated with Jalen not throwing into double teams, which AJ was double teamed a lot in this game. And he was, going to be a target a lot. But, I can understand why this is their game plan. And if this is what gets them to the Super Bowl and eventually wins their second one in franchise history, that's what they're going to have to do. Protect the ball, get turnovers, and win ugly. And at the end of the day, when they're holding up a banner next September, nobody's going to care.
Apologies for your bank account, but personally, I love
great.
I love how selfless and classy that was, especially after a couple of cheap shots. But Shane, what do you think, Saquon Barkley?
I thought he should have ran it in for a touchdown. I mean, come on. We're not, and I'm not mad at Saquon, but come on. We're up 12. Like, this isn't like you're up 1, and if you score, it's still a 1-score game. Like, you're going up by 3 scores with a minute left. Go get your touchdown, Saquon. Come on, man. But no, I mean, I thought Saquon's just such a good running back, man. It's funny, like, my kids are getting into football now, and my son's about to turn 10 and he watches all the games. And after one of those runs, he was like, Saquon's so patient. And I'm like, he doesn't watch my videos and podcasts and stuff, but it's so true. I mean, and even he's picking up on it. So, I mean, Joe Shane couldn't, but my kid knows that Saquon's a good running back. That's always cool. But I mean, he was so good in this game, and he's so good, just consistent. I think I saw he's got 100 yards in 7 of the last 8 games. And I mean, he's the first I think this is right. He's the first 75-yard rusher that the Packers have allowed since week 8. So, I mean, Saquon's incredible, and he's eventually going to get his, even if it starts slow, like it did at times today. And even if it slumps, eventually he's going to break out. And the threat of that is what the Eagles need to build that passing game off of. And that's what I was getting so frustrated with. Like, you run teams into single high and then throw your outbreakers outside the numbers. And I just didn't feel like they did that today. Yeah. But yeah, the Eagles offense runs through Saquon. He's phenomenal.
Yeah, I think a lot of Eagles fans kind of didn't realize how good this Packers defense was coming into the postseason. The fact that he could have had 170 yards if he wanted to against a really, truly elite run defense is worth a lot. I thought he was very good. Impulse says, had Saquon longest run ladder to 50 yards. The last play made me want to puke. Love him, though. 0 turnover worthy plays by Hurts. This wasn't 35-7. Saquon had some incredible pass blocks. I thought even Kenny Gainwell had a couple of nice moments in this one as well. I thought Johnny was overhyping Josh Jacobs on the Shane Page episode. I was horribly wrong. They could not bring him down whatsoever.
That was 2 of the 3 best running backs in the NFL played on that field tonight. Yeah. And that run that Josh Jacobs had was also just incredible. And I mean,
awesome.
At the end of never mind. I'll save this for my final thoughts. Let's keep rolling.
We'll get there. Goddard triple stiff arm was special. Let's go to that. Any other thoughts on Saquon before we get to receivers?
Nah,
let's roll. This was a very frustrating game for the receivers. Obviously, Devontae not getting involved until late into the third quarter. Jahan Dotson got his touchdown, but 3 targets for A.J. Brown is very, very strange. The star of the game by far, offensively, as for the receivers, was Dallas Goedert. That touchdown play he had where he stiffed armed the dude and broke a tackle and went into the end zone was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Outside of that, not a lot. I mean, when was the last time A.J. Brown had 3 targets in a game? I'm going to look at that while you guys talk. I'll throw it to you, Shane, first. Thoughts on the receivers?
I wondered at times in this game if A.J. Brown is hurt more than they're letting on, because he looked slow. I didn't realize he slipped. Somebody said he slipped on the fake tush push pass. I didn't see that. Maybe I just missed that, but thought he looked slow there. He didn't seem to be a focal point of the offense. And so I wondered if maybe he's hurt more than they let on, but then you get him like with a tremendous block on that Goddard touchdown. I'm like, well, maybe he wasn't. Maybe it's just a game where the ball didn't go his way. I don't know. But so, I mean, obviously you monitor his health down the stretch, and that's going to be a concern. Can he stay healthy? And that's going to be a concern for a lot of positions after this game. But it's nice to have other guys that can step up. I mean, Jahan Dotson catches the first touchdown. It's his only catch of the game, but he gets the touchdown. And Dallas Goedert has a huge play against a cover 0 blitz. And Devontae Smith, 4 for 55. And it wasn't a high volume game for anybody. But the Eagles are very fortunate to have, the trio of receivers they have, and I'll include Jahan Dotson in that, and then to have Dallas Goedert. And Dallas Goedert's so good. I know Ryan doesn't like to hear us say that, but Dallas Goedert's so good. If he could stay healthy, and if he was the focal point of an offense, he would easily be considered a top 5 tight end in the league. It's never going to happen for him here, but he's so good and such a big part of this game.
That was the fewest amount of targets A.J. Brown has had in his Eagles career. He had 1 target during a Giants game, week 18, where he only played 12 snaps. So if you exclude that, that's the fewest amount of targets to A.J. Brown when it comes to the biggest game of the year, with Kellen Moore having the worst game of his Eagles career. I'm left clueless. David, what are your thoughts?
I agreed with Shane. I thought for most of the game that A.J. Brown might be a lot more injured than any of us realize. They've been trying to manage that the last, about 6-7 weeks. And maybe it is more serious. I don't know how many practices he missed this week, at least 1, maybe 2 of them. And that's unusual because you don't really manage that type of health during a playoff game like that. So that was concerning to me. And I think when you go back and watch the All-22, you're going to notice that he also took some routes off. He cut a lot of them short, ran out to the sideline a few times. So I was a little concerned about that. You go back to Goddard, and I think you mentioned about if he was the focal point. Well, he was in one of the games this year. And what did he get, like 200 yards? What was that crazy game he had with like 180, 200 yards, something like that? So I think we have seen what he can look like when he is the focal point of the offense. And today he led the team in targets with 6. He hauled in 4 of them, and that'll be one of the better catches. I mean, him just making that catch, let alone turning around with 3 stiff arms to find his way to the end zone. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. So, yeah, I mean, I think they said that Hurts got the ball to 6 receivers in this game. And when you're only throwing it 21 times or whatever, that's pretty remarkable. So it seems like that was their game plan, for better or for worse.
Yeah, the Goddard game, I think that was the Saints game when AJ was out. And then Devontae got hurt in the fourth quarter, and Dallas Goedert had that big catch, but he had 10 catches for 170 yards in that game.
Yeah, he was unstoppable.
We have a comment from AP. Who do you guys want next in the postseason? Tampa Bay, LA, or Minnesota? Here's my terrible take, and I'll rank them. Shane, you tell me how wrong I am. I'll go Minnesota, LA, Tampa Bay.
I think Minnesota and LA should be flipped, in my opinion. Minnesota's got a really good defense and a really good duo of receivers. And I know Darnold looked really bad against Detroit. I think the Eagles could get to him, but the Rams just aren't that good. They're not. And I don't think, Tampa Bay always scares you because they've kind of had the Eagles number. And, it's also a bonus that if you end up against LA or the Vikings, that they're also playing on Monday night. So you'd have a day rest advantage. So I think overall I would rather have LA, and I'd probably call Minnesota and Tampa kind of a toss up, but I'll lean Minnesota.
Yep. The only hesitation with LA is I've kind of seen a slight decrease in the play. I know Q got his pick, and we're going to talk about it and celebrate that, but there has been some concerns, at least a little bit. David, do you have a quick thought on that?
No, I think I agree with Shane. I think I'd rank them LA, Minnesota, Tampa for all the same reasons. Todd Bowles has seemed like Jalen Hurts' kryptonite the last 4 years, in my opinion. Even the game they won last year down in Tampa that was like 30-10 or whatever it was, they just ran the hell out of a ball in that game. DeAndre Swift had like 200 yards in that game. It wasn't really a whole lot, that Jalen Hurts did. I remember he threw a touchdown to Zacchaeus in that game. But aside from that, yeah, I don't really like them. My plan would be to see LA and then the Commanders at home in the NFC title game.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Keep the comments coming, guys. We're trying to catch up. They are flowing. Cameron says Saquon is the type of guy you want your daughter to marry. That might be my favorite comment of the night. I love it. Travis says Q interception finally. We're going to get to that in a second. Very soon. Dives predicted the walk-off Q interception.
No, he did not. Don't give him credit for that.
I don't even remember.
I do, and I've got the clip I'm going to play when we get there.
Oh shit! Okay.
Here we go. Let's Quinyon Mitchell. Let's just get to it. This is why you guys need to be watching Birds of the Round Table, because this was Tuesday night in our preview show. Enjoy. Quinyon Mitchell gets his first career interception to seal the game in the fourth quarter. Jordan Love is a gunslinger. He'll put the ball in harm's way at from time to time. 2.7% turnover worthy play rate, ranks in the bottom half of the league. So there you go. Quinyon Mitchell, first career interception, and it delivers the Eagles the victory and a well-deserved player of the game.
I can't confirm or deny that. Shane probably said that about 6 times this season.
False. Because prior to this, I kept saying that I will believe Quinyon Mitchell gets an interception when I see it. And a premonition told me that it was going to be this game. So I got the Q interception, got the clip out. Let's go.
This is why you need a superstar draft to win a Super Bowl. Big V. My gosh. Funny how Dotson got his first Eagles touchdown and Q got his first pick in the same playoff game. Cameron says AJ's knee is worse than he's letting on. You really think it's Kellen? I have way more concerns about the game plan today versus Jalen Hurts for sure. We'll get to that all week long. Make sure you lock into Eagles pin pool. We'll be talking about it a lot. Nooms, the run concepts were not as strong by more, but Green Bay will make you look like that for sure. All right. There's so many comments. Any other offensive takes before we get into the defense, which was the star of the day?
Jake Elliott missing the PAT was a little concerning as far as the offense goes. I don't know what they're going to do about that, but it's definitely concerning.
I don't even know. That for a long time, for a long stretch during this game, I was stressing the F out about that missed PAT.
Yeah.
That really could have hurt them. Anyway. All right. David called a Quignon interception on Christmas Day. Wow, we got receipts coming here. Shane brought the receipts.
I always bring the receipts for what I'm right about. It's up to y'all to go dig up the things I was wrong about. Except for our year-end prop bet show, and then I gladly poke fun at all of us.
That's my favorite show, is we realize how wrong we are on all this. Shane Stradamus, Shane the Prophet. Oh, it's great. All right. Let's roll on to the defense, which was unfreaking believable for the most part. There were some concerns, like, for example, the drop-off between Cooper DeJean and Avonte Maddox. There's been Darius Slay and Tristan McCullum. The new one is Nakobe Dean and Oren Burks, because Oren Burks looked out of position, taking bad angles to the football every time he was on the field. Really tough game for Oren Burks, but let's talk positives. They were generally very, very good. I thought the play of Jalen Carter, I thought the play of Milton Williams, I thought they were fantastic for the better of this game. Darius Slay making that big interception. He did get hurt, but did come back. Zach Bond continuing to be the all-pro that he is. It's unbelievable now that we got to win in the wild card, and it's just expectation that one of our best players, linebackers, is Zach Bond, and it's the plays he made in coverage, the plays he made in stopping the run, just is so consistent and so elite. It's mind-blowing. And then we get to playoff Danny Briere, playoff Nolan Smith Jr., who was phenomenal. Just everything we wanted out of the first-round pick. I still want edge in this draft. Don't get me wrong. I still think that's a major need. But let's lead off with David. What was your defensive takeaway?
You hit the nail on the head. It's Nolan Smith, man. He was just bringing pressure the whole game. He busted through the line on a really nice inside move, won a third down play in the first quarter for his first sack, and he had his second sack. I think it was like 3 minutes left in the game. He ended up with 8 tackles, 2 TFLs, 2 QB hits, the 2 sacks, and he was disruptive the entire game. It just everywhere. He sets the edge already so well. He's their best run defender that they have at edge. I don't know what Josh Sweat or Bryce Huff, I don't know if they even had stats to
Bryce
mention.
Huff only played 1 defensive snap.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
we all saw that coming in, week 18. Really.
Yeah, he was a force out there on his own, and you mentioned the interior defense. Jalen Carter does what he does all the time. Jordan Davis had a big game. The stats might not show it, but he was extremely disruptive, and the Green Bay line had to resort to holding the whole day because everybody was just coming through. Unfortunately, they had that one injury there that caused some of that problem. But yeah, the line was just absolutely amazing.
Yep. Noom says, well, Trot Jr. get first team reps this week. Shane, what were your thoughts on the defense?
Yeah, Nolan Smith, man, I'm so happy for him. He's a guy that I liked. I know a lot of people thought he was a reach at 30 last year. I think he was like 15th on my big board. I was pretty happy about the pick. I was pretty vocal that I would have preferred Brian Branch at that spot, but I'm so happy to see him really coming on. And development's not linear. Like, this doesn't mean that he's going to take another step forward next year equal to what he did this year. But if this is his floor, like if he was a useful player because of how good he is as a run defender. If his floor is a guy who can be a really good edge setter in the run game, gives you athleticism to contain quarterbacks, and can get like 6 to 7, 8 sacks a year, that's a very good player for your team. And it's just his second year. I'm hopeful that he'll continue to develop, but he was so good in this game. Led the team in pressures with 5, had both of their sacks. You can't say enough good things about Nolan Smith and really about the defensive line as a whole. David mentioned Jordan Davis, and he didn't play a lot of snaps, only 13 snaps, but he was tremendous when he was out there. His presence was definitely felt. Nakobe Dean was awesome in this game until he got injured. Isaiah Rodgers stepped in for Darius Slay and played really well. And then Slay came back and played, like, the whole secondary played well. And I mean, it's just incredible what the defense was able to do. And this is a Packers team that has a really good offense. And yeah, they're banged up. And honestly, them losing their left guard really screwed up the entire game for them, because they came in with the same game plan everybody has. That's slide our center to Jalen Carter's side on the right and leave our left guard on an island with Milton Williams. And when your left guard goes out of the game early, it really threw the Packers for a loop. And shout out to the Eagles for being able to take advantage of that.
Yep. Nolan Smith, man, he's going to be one of your core pieces for the next 10 years. That is a guy that has all the intangibles, the speed, the power, the run defense you're looking for. And it's just going to be a lot of fun watching this guy put it all together, even more so going forward. Really awesome. Like Shane said, on the other end, I was really impressed with the defense. You know, you hold the Packers offense to just 10 points. You get 4 turnovers, 1 on downs. Just, I thought, a top-notch game. And you hold Jordan Love to a 41.5 passer rating. Is that correct? That's ridiculous. So I was really concerned about Jordan Love going up against a lot of the tendencies that Vic Fangio likes to run. And I thought for the better part of this game, there were some tackling issues that we can talk about Oren Burks with Nakobe Dean getting hurt, because I feel like we're getting a lot of comments about this. Should we do Q or Oren Burks first? What do you want to do? You guys lead.
Let's talk Oren Burks.
Oren Burks I don't know what his stats are. I mean, obviously beyond the surface, but I feel like he was out of position for a betterment of this, of his snaps, missing tackles. I thought he looked better than Jeremiah Trotter Jr. in week 18.
He did.
And he looked completely unprepared, Shane. He was almost always out of position. And for me, I am absolutely getting ready for Jeremiah Trotter Jr. At least Jeremiah Trotter Jr. has the instincts and the feel to know where to be, as we have seen all season long. Shane, go ahead.
Nakobe Dean missed week 17 against Dallas too, right? I know Burks played. I'm trying to recall if they prepared for him to be the starter all week. I think they did. I would have to look it up, but I know that Oren Burks played really well in week 17 and 18. And yeah, Nakobe Dean missed 17 and 18. So Oren Burks, the last 2 weeks of the regular season, when they prepared for him to be a starter, he played really well. And so I'm not prepared to just panic about Oren Burks. Oren Burks was a huge drop off from Nakobe Dean, and it was rough. Johnny and I talked about a lot how the Packers offensive scheme really stresses the Eagles linebackers horizontally with the motion and the run game and the different concepts they do. And so I think you get a guy who did not prep as the starter, didn't get the first team reps this week, and played an offense that challenges his position specifically. You get a bit of a rough game. I would expect him to be better next week. And if you think about teams they could play next week, the Buccaneers, the Rams are going to run a lot of the same types of stuff. But I do feel a lot more confident in him next week because he had those 2 good weeks in week 17 and 18. And again, they were against different styles of offenses. And so maybe not, but I don't feel like, we're just destined for terrible linebacker play because he has to step in. If Nakobe Dean's not able to go, I do expect Oren Burks to be the starter next week and to be better.
Yep. John says whoever we play next week is going to game plan to attack Burks big time, as we've seen with Avonte Maddox. Are we just stuck with Bryce Huff, or can we get rid of him? Shane, you talked about this. You can't get rid of him, at least next year.
Yeah, there. I can get the exact numbers, but I think it's something like it costs like $7 million more to get rid of him than it does to keep him next year. I can get back to you. I'll look that contract up again, but yeah, it's not good. He will be here next year.
Huff was playing in the fourth quarter last week. He's officially a backup. Absolutely. Josh Sweat. I love Nolan Smith. His speed and quickness is unreal. He's figured it out. Getting a lot of BG comps. Great to see him progressing. Save Q for last. We will. Burks is long, not great at tackling, but neither is Trotter for sure. I think Nakobe Dean even had like one tackle in the backfield that he missed when he was on the field. We're going to miss him, man. It sucks, but it is what it is. Burks will be better with first-team reps this week. Bright Eclipse says, for as bad as Burks' issues, we should still acknowledge how huge that opening kickoff was. Well said. That's a great comment. Setting the tone. I forgot about that, to be honest. This game was a journey. That feels like forever ago, but that was a tone-setting play for the Philadelphia Eagles, even though they didn't get a lot of points off turnovers in this one. It's what it is. Let's not forget Burks was going up against third best back in the league this year. Brett Eclipse says linebacker play in Philly has become so good. We're stressing about the backup for LB2 struggling while the other LB is a defensive player. The comment of the day. That is winning for sure. And Slay still doing his thing. Slay doing Slay things. He gets an interception, then he gets hurt, then he comes back in. It's kind of been the general pattern for Darius Slay. And I don't feel we talk enough good things about him. What are your thoughts on the Oren Burks Trot Jr. thing, David?
I sent you a picture in Discord of Nakobe leaving the stadium, which does not look too good. But Nakobe is also, he wears the green dot. He's the quarterback of the defense, and that's the position that Oren Burks will probably have to take over. That's what he's been training to do as the backup for all these weeks. I don't know that Jeremiah Trotter Jr. has been given those same responsibilities, and that's even more difficult to throw on a rookie who has not played, all season long in that role. So I would expect it's definitely going to be Oren Burks. And when he did have a week to prepare, like Shane said, going into that Giants game, again, it's the Giants. He ate with like 17 tackles in that game. I mean, he was an absolute heathen in that game. But I do think that if you give him time to prepare, I think things are going to be okay with him. He's not Nakobe Dean, but I think he's going to be fine in that role. And again, the benefit is you're playing alongside Zach Bond, which has gone a long way to help Dean this season, and it'll go a long way to help Burks next week as well.
Yep. We have a comment saying you can't go Trotter. Let's talk Q.
Before we talk Q, because it's the same play, can we just mention that on the Q interception, Zach Bond is 50 yards downfield running with a wide receiver in a cover two. I think it was cover two, and he was running up the seam as the whole guy with a receiver, 50 yards downfield.
Shane, it's not even surprising anymore. It's not even a thing. It's the expectation, which is crazy. He pay whatever he wants. Period. Any other thoughts before we get to Q? Going once.
Random thought before we get to Q. Did anybody else think it was funny that Tom Brady is like praising Josh Jacobs for not going out of bounds, which keeps the clock running, and he takes a hit to get 3 other yards, and he's like, if you're watching at home, that's how you play the running back position, as Josh Jacobs is walking off the field hurt over 3 extra yards. Like, did anybody else think that was funny? I was like, come on, man. Like, I don't know. That's always a pet peeve of mine with guys like going into contact for negligible yardage past the marker anyways. And then Tom Brady's praising it literally as the guy's coming off the field hurt. But that's all I got now. That's the last thing. Let's talk Q.
All right. Reddit clip says Mitchell was targeted 6 times as the nearest defender, allowing 2 receptions for 10 yards and an interception. 1.6 yards average separation from next gen. Great comment there. Keep those coming. Here is the pick from Q, and I'm so excited, man. This is I've been waiting for this moment all season long. He's been so dominant, so elite all year, and of course, it's kind of a meaningless play there in the end zone. At the end of the day, though, it's still awesome. Q has been targeted a little more than I expected over the last month or so. We're starting to see offenses kind of test him. There was a stretch in this game where he was targeted back to back to back, where one of those was a pass interference. I thought it was a BS call to begin with. The other one were 2 incompletions. We've seen kind of Q get beat on comebacks, especially against the Commanders and Jaden Daniels in that one matchup. But lead us off, David. What was your reaction to Quinyon Mitchell's first interception?
Yeah, I was happy for him. He did say at the end of the game that he didn't even know where the ball was when he was in the locker room. So hopefully they find that for him.
Oh, no. That's the most Q thing ever. He finally catches the pass and then he loses the ball. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Like the comment said, he was targeted 6 times. He gave up the 2 catches. He's lucky he didn't give up a touchdown. I don't know if you remember the one that was right in the corner there. He kind of broke the opposite way there, and the guy just didn't haul it in. But at the end of the day, he gave up 2 catches, 10 yards. He had a pass defense, an interception. I think it was like a 47.9 passer rating against him. No touchdowns, more importantly. And he does not lack any confidence whatsoever. So they might keep trying him, but that interception probably is, yeah, it may have. That interception probably just boosted his confidence even more. And he made some phenomenal tackles in this game. I think he ended up with 6, and he had 1 tackle on the running back where he broke in from like 12, 13 yards back. He was almost as deep as the safeties. So, yeah, he was very involved in this game because you don't normally see him with that many tackles. But, yeah, he played a really, really good game.
I agree. What about you, Shane?
Yeah, it was a good game I thought all the Eagles defensive backs, with the exception of Cooper DeJean, played really good. Quinyon Mitchell, I thought that DPI that they called on him, I thought was pretty ticky-tack. It was a good sell job by the receiver.
Flop.
And Q's got to know, like, Q didn't bite at all on the double move, and he was in great position. Like, he didn't need to initiate contact. He opened the window for it to get called. And that's a rookie thing. He's going to figure that stuff out. Like, the main thing for me on that is he was in the right position, and he didn't grab. He did initiate contact and open himself up to get called, but I wouldn't have thrown that flag. And other than that, I thought he played really well. He gets the pick. I thought they went after him 2 plays in a row after that DPI. Well, they called a run, and then they threw at him 2 plays in a row after that DPI. I thought he had great coverage on both. And the third down that Tom Brady, was like, as soon as he released inside, that throw is just never going to get completed. And Q knows that, like, Q forcing that inside. Thought he played well. Slay played well. Isaiah Rodgers played well. I thought the safeties played well. Cooper DeJean was rough, but welcome to the playoffs, rookie. I expect him to be better. But, yeah, the secondary was incredible.
The one stick by Reed Blankenship, I don't want to, go forward without mentioning that. That was a great hit. Who did he stick? I'm trying to remember. Was
that the Jaden Reed? Was it Jaden Reed?
It might have been. That was a great hit. Yeah. Anyway, I definitely want to make sure that's brought up. Yeah. I mean, this was one of those weeks where it was really good for the Eagles to get that bye week in week 18, because you could see I don't want to say it was just pure bad luck for the Packers, but you could see, I mean, they were dropping guys left and right. They were exhausted, and that's what happens when your body's not right. That's when injuries happen. Read on Reed violence.
Yeah.
My man Coyle Bird still waiting for the holding calls for Carter.
That They called the holding call on Jordan Davis, and I thought for a second it was Jalen Carter, and the space-time continuum was going to fracture. But then I realized it was Jordan Davis, and that was a whole different issue that he just beasted on a pass rush. But yeah,
I feel like for the first time there were holding calls, called, but we'll take what we can get for sure.
There were headlocks in this game. I mean, they weren't just holds; they were assaults.
Yeah. That and that cost them the game. To be honest, like the emotions were coming out for the Packers. Let's. Any other comments on the defense before we get into player of the game?
Just amazing to me. You think about Zach Bond, who wasn't here last year, Quinyon Mitchell, who wasn't here last year. They rebuilt this whole thing with a couple players, a good draft, and a new defensive coordinator. So when you always look at these teams that are taking years to rebuild and all, this is how quick it can happen with some successful drafts. You bring in the right players and the right coaching staff.
Yep. All right. Let's get into player of the game. I'm going to go last, as always. Throw it to you, Shane. Who's your player of the game?
I mean, it's Quinyon Mitchell. I said it on Tuesday. I said he would get an interception in the fourth quarter to seal the game, and he would get player of the game. He did all of those things. Throwing it back to that. Quinyon Mitchell, player of the game.
What about you, David?
I'm going with Nolan Smith Jr., man. The maturation of him. I had him second on my board in that 23 draft. I had Jalen Carter 1, Nolan Smith Jr. 2. So there was like nobody happier than me when they ended up with these two guys. And he has just been absolutely incredible. He brings pressure. He's never tired. It's like he's just relentless. He ended up with some game altering plays in this game. I mean, you get a couple sacks, you're bringing pressure, causing poor throws, you're playing well against the run. I mean, he has just been absolutely incredible. And years from now, when you see that the Eagles got him at pick 30, that might be really surprising to a lot of players.
I wish we had one more person on this show. I would have went Nolan Smith for sure. Krabby says, Shane, you need an end zone dance for that call on Q.
do the Q dance.
Am I supposed to do this?
There it is. That works.
That's a Cooper. Do the Q.
I so bad want to go defense, but I also so bad want to go Saquon, but I'm going to go Dallas Goedert. I think Dallas Goedert was so massive for this team. We've been killing him, to be fair, on Birds of the Round Table, my show Party on Broad, and it's because he's not on the field. And he had 4 catches for 47 yards and a touchdown. He also one of the catches was a first down. It was a good throw and a great catch. Give me Dallas Goedert for hopefully these last 2 weeks are a sign of things to come, because I know it was the backups that played in week 18, but he looked really dominant there. Give me Dallas Goedert as my player of the game for hopefully a guy that can open up that intermediate area of the field for this Eagles offense, which we never use. So give me Dallas Goedert. Shane, let's roll into Eagles game in 3 words or less.
All right, let's do it. Each and every week we put out to you guys on Twitter requests for your 3-word reactions to the game, and we'll put some of our favorites up on the screen. And so let's throw to a few of those. Hold on, I didn't have those queued up, but okay, here we go. So we got from Home for Bed, which is a great name on Twitter. We got 3 more wins. So 3 more wins, 3 wins away from the ultimate goal of the Super Bowl title. Man, what is going on here? Jonathan says better than losing, which I can confirm. Winning is, in fact, better than losing. Ryan gave us a Nakobe comeback, and unfortunately, I've seen the picture that David's floating around on Twitter, too, with Nakobe and the leg brace and the crutches. So I don't know that one's going to come through. Max gave a prayers for Nakobe. Winston chimed in with an offense scares me, and it scares me a little bit, too. We got an offense isn't creative from Chance. We got a Mitchell can catch from down. We got a defense is king from NFL Mansala 2022. On to next week from Paul and a 10 points and then in all caps defense from Down. So there you have it. Our 3-word reactions of the week from Twitter. Hopefully we'll have some of those coming in the chat here. Got a great one here that read a book. Oh man, that's going to be the next wave, right? Is all these guys are going to have book deals worked out with authors to just like have a book on the sideline so the camera will catch it and talk about it. Cause that book's already going to be sold out on Amazon.
Yes.
Jaden Daniels just got rocked on the sideline. Did you guys see that?
No.
Oh my gosh. And there's no late hit. There's no unnecessary roughness.
I'll have to run it back.
Wild. Yeah. Make sure you check that out. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Through all of this, I didn't think of my own 3 words. David, what's your 3 words? I think of one.
Better game plan.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm gonna go FU All Pro. Can I do that one? Because
all pros hyphenated.
Yes. Or you can make like FU like one word. You know what I mean? Because Zach Tom was a right tackle and All Pro, took Lane Johnson's place, and meanwhile, Nolan Smith Jr. cooks his ass for a huge game against the Packers in the wild card. Give me that. And then just win Washington win. I don't want any parts of Tampa Bay in this whatsoever as I'm watching this game. David, Shane, did we all do ours? I'm not.
No, I didn't do mine. I'm just going to go. I'm going to go with Q's first pick. I've been wanting to see it all year. He finally pulled one in, and even if it was mostly meaningless, that was pretty much sealed. But give me Q's first pick.
AJ's book club, typical Eagles win, inspire others. AJ.
I am catching some heat from Cameron in the chat here about having the clip from Tuesday locked and loaded, but I couldn't find the 3 words tab. Hey, Twitter is sometimes garbage now. That's all I'm saying. Sometimes, not always, just sometimes.
Dive, please be more creative. I'm tired, man. All right, that about wraps it up. I'll throw it to you, David. Final thoughts on the W. Plugs. Time is yours.
My final thoughts is they won. Be happy. Everything isn't always going to go how you want it to be. It's not going to be as scripted. I remember Jalen Hurts said something like that. It's not always going to be how you want it, but I'm going to win. And that's what they do. They find a way to win, whether it's pretty, whether it's ugly, from explosive plays, non-explosive plays, turnovers. And it was very troublesome at the beginning when they had 3 turnovers and only got 7 points off of them. But they just keep grinding and they just keep wearing you down. And this team isn't like the 2022 team. Everybody likes to do a lot of comparisons, but this offense isn't that for whatever reason. They have a lot of the same weapons. They have even better weapons if you want to throw in Saquon there, but it's just not that kind of team. I don't know what holds them back from that, but if they keep winning, it doesn't matter because they're playing a style of football that just does the most important thing week in and week out, and that's get the W.
All right. Anything you want to plug, dude?
Nope. Just keep listening to Eagles Pinpool Network. You can follow everything I write at PHL Eagle News for Philly Sports Network.
All right. What about you, Shane?
Yeah, there's probably going to be a lot of hand wringing this week on social media because that's what we do. But at the end of the day, the Eagles had terrible tackling. They missed 14 tackles in this game, which was the most of any game of the season. They had the worst offensive game plan I've seen since the Tampa Bay playoff game last year. And they beat an 11-win team by 12 and turned down a touchdown that would have made it a 19-point game with a quarterback who entered the game with 4 passing attempts in the last 27 days. This same Packers team lost to Minnesota by 2 points 2 times. They lost to Detroit by 3 and by 10. The Eagles played the Packers. They beat them more convincingly than the Lions ever did or the Vikings ever did, 2 of the bigger name teams left in the playoffs. And they did it with terrible tackling, a terrible game plan, and a rusty quarterback. Let's stay healthy. Let's go out and do it again next weekend and make it look a little prettier.
Amen. My man Marshawn says winning is everything. Final thoughts, defense wins championships, man. This defense is probably the best defense in the NFC going forward, or not probably. They are the best defense. And we saw turnovers come in bunches. I think they've got 14 turnovers the last 4 weeks, something crazy like that. That's winning football. That's championship football. They got to figure out what they're going to do with Burks and Trot Jr. Replacing Nakobe Dean for sure. But at the end of the day, they got home on Jordan Love, who is, like Shane said on his amazing shows all week long, impossible to sack. Kellen Moore aside, Jalen Hurts aside, they'll figure it out with a week of practice this week, a full week of practice this week. And this defense from the Eagles is legit as you can imagine. So give me the defense is as elite as it gets, holding the Packers to 10 points. Cameron says Eagles wipe out myself. I've been up since 3 a.m., man. I'm tired. Woke up ready to go for this playoff game, but 9 o'clock, I'm old. Here we are. All right, guys, thank you everyone for watching. We're going to wrap it up. Go Washington. I really want to see an Eagles versus Commanders next round. I believe that is possible if they get the W. No, it's not.
If the Commanders win, they will automatically play Detroit because they'll be the lowest seed left. So if the Commanders win, then the Eagles will play the winner of tomorrow night's game between the Rams and the Vikings. If Tampa wins, then the Eagles will play Tampa. So, and the Lions would play the winner of tomorrow night's game. So part of me would rather play Vikings or Rams, but the other part of me would love for Washington to not win a playoff game. So, win-win, I guess.
It was also weird to see this offense take a full step back with struggling against the blitz. Like they've been so, in general, solid reading the blitz, and not tonight. But anyway, one last time, he is Shane at Shane Half NFL. That is David at PHL Eagles News. I am Dobbs, Mr. Crockpot. Make sure you check out Eagles Pinpool wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be doing shows on the Birds all week long. Again, thank you everyone for the comments. They were flowing tonight, and you guys are the best. If you haven't already, please be sure to like this video. I'm not sure how many there are right now, but I'm sure it's not enough. Help us get this Eagles content to more viewers. He is Shane. That is David. I am Dobbs. Eagles get the W. Move on to the next one. Survive and advance. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Stay awesome.